Hi guys, welcome back to Bitesize Excel. In today's video, we're going to take a first look at Power Query. Now, Power Query is a Microsoft tool that basically allows you to transform and prepare your data. Now, it can take data from a number of different sources, run it through Power Query, so you can transform it automatically for use in things like Microsoft Excel, Power BI, and other pieces of software. Today, we're going to look at a very simple example where we take data from a table within Excel and transform it. So in this workbook, what we have is a number of projects down the side, project value, start and end date, the total number of days that's allocated to that project, and the people who are going to be working on it with the number of days allocated per person. Now what we want to do is we want to have it so we have a list with all the projects, but a single row for each of the people. So we basically want to transform these columns into rows. And we're going to use Power Query to do this. So the first thing we have to do is we want to select our data and we want to convert it into a table. So we're going to go to Insert, click on Table. My table already has headers, so that can be checked. Click OK. And we now have our data in a table format. Now I'm just going to add in a total row just to show you how to deal with that. We'll just make sure that all the columns are totaling up, and I'll show you how to deal with this in a moment. Now, Power Query is quite simple to use. What we do is we go to our Data tab and we select Get and Transform Data from a table or range. And if we click on that, what we'll get is this Power Query box that pops open, which essentially has all your data and a number of tools which lets you go through a few steps to transform this data into how you want it. And this means if you add anything to your table in future, you can just refresh the output and it will run through all these steps automatically, saving you from having to do it manually. Now in this particular example, what I'm interested in, I want my output table to still have the project value, start and end date. Not really interested in the total days because I'm going to be separating out the people into individual rows. I'm also not interested in the total row because if I leave it in, what it will do is it will split out all these values into separate rows. So to get rid of this total row, we go up to this button, Remove Rows. We want to remove bottom rows and we want to remove one row from the bottom. We click OK. You'll see that total has disappeared. I also want to remove this total days, so I can right click and click Remove. Now in order to get these separated out by person, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all my other columns that I want to keep. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to this Unpivot Other Columns. So if we click on this, what it's done is it's separated it out so that we have project 1 had 2 people working on it, person 1 and person 2, and the number of days. So we can rename our column headers. So we want to call this one days, and we want to call this one, let's just call it person. Check that everything else is as we want it to appear. You'll notice that anything that is a 0 hasn't appeared on the list. And if we click Close and Load, it will go back to our spreadsheet and it will load this in as a table. Now what's great about Power Query is if I come back to my original table here and add in another row, call it project 11, add in some dummy values here, just copy these ones to make it quick, and say I want to add in some days. Rather than having to go through all the faff of redoing all those steps, all I need to do is come back here to the output from my Power Query, right click, click Refresh, and it will automatically add in these additional rows. You can make sure your Power Query that everything's formatted the way you want it, or if you were to format it in here, let's go to Currency, add in some additional days somewhere. Click Refresh, and you'll see that it's just added in but kept the format. So this is how you can quickly use Power Query to separate out different columns in your spreadsheet into rows and automatically update it. If you have multiple Power Query outputs in your workbook, you can go to your Data tab and click on Refresh All, and it will refresh everything in your workbook, including any pivot tables you might have. So this has been a really quick introduction to one example of using Power Query in Excel to manage your data in a smarter way. If you're interested in finding a little bit more out about Power Query, do leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see in a future video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.